Here's our setup to do some water droplet pictures. We're going to have a little container underneath a glass filled with colored water. We're going to use an eyedropper to be able to make the drops happen, just like this. Okay. Setup-wise, we're going to have a backdrop. Usually just use a neutral white backdrop there. We're going to have two flashes that are set up on stands with some remote triggers. These are set to flash on there. Same kind of setup over here. Our flash is going to be set to a manual mode, 1/16 power. That produces a real quick burst of light. Same on both sides. We can play around with how these are directed. Then the camera itself, we're going to be on manual mode on the top. And I've been playing around with our settings here, but we don't need to go with, we basically have a limitation how fast we can go based on syncing to the flash. So no faster than 1/125, but you can try slower if you want. F number, go as high as you can. That's going to help to produce a really long depth of field and help to really show everything in focus. I've got a manual focus on here because I've manually focused the lens onto the area where we're going to be capturing our image. So when I was setting up to begin with, I was just in live view. And for this part, you probably would need to make sure that you've got your settings that you haven't already changed, because right now it's like black on here. So I'm just going to go with the really slow shutter so you can see what I'm seeing here, and we'll divvy it up. So I'd use the lens to manually focus right on the cup, right in the middle actually, so kind of right where my finger is here. So that's where I'm going to be dropping the water. Great. Then after you've got that focus set, we're going to make sure that we've got the lights turned off in the room, so we don't want any ambient light getting into our picture. And then the camera has a sync on the top here, little transmitter that's going to communicate to both of these flashes to let them go off at the same time. Here's what that looks like. Okay, so that'll set off the flashes. For this next part, we've got the lights off in the room. You're just going to be either having a partner help you with this, if you're working in a pair, or doing it by yourself, but we're going to be dropping and taking the pictures at the same time here. The flash takes a moment to charge between each picture, but you'll see on the back here, as I show you some of these images, how you're really able to capture really good water movement. So since we're bouncing that flash off the back here, we're able to get that backlighting, which really does a nice thing on the water edge. You know, and sometimes you might miss things. Sometimes it might capture like just that extreme moment. That's what we're going for, is trying to capture, a lot of different options to then see where the most interesting water movement is. So even at this one, you can see my settings, I was a little bit slower on the shutter speed. And when you have that happen, you might see some smears of the water droplets happen in the picture. But if you go a little bit faster, so here's like 1/100, we don't really see those smears happening at all in the images. All right, so again, that setup, tripod the camera so that way you can keep your focus and you don't need to focus between each shot. We got those two flashes going. You might play around with which direction you're shooting them. You could even try doing some backlighting on the water droplet itself.